I've done whole, 90-minute shows over and over on Antimatter Radio about this, so I'm just skimming over a point that we've empirically backed up to an incredible degree. But the point is, though, then, if consciousness is the stuff of nature, then the currency there is the thing that's stolen consciousness. It's in it itself, if it's a piece of nature, it is a piece of consciousness as well. The currency is. So it's like the conscious entity that steals our consciousness. So in that sense, it's a piece of energy that it has the possibility of, steering it. We're a current that flows into it. So it is amazing how this whole thing is fitting together. I know I'm skimming over this really, really fast here, but there's a lot of ways to think about that's probably a hint. If all the words that could be used, currency, just is a variation of the word current. I mean, I think a lot of the listeners of this show know now there's no more coincidences with all these words going on. So there is definitely something huge behind that.
That's right, Jeff, and that hits on, our good friend Galactic Wacko loves what they call green language.
Yeah.
And this is the language of I like to call them my witches. Bob is I'm in a fight against witches. Okay, guys, I know, and Jeff knows, and Ed knows, there are dark sorcerers actively thwarting us. But as Jeff stated, if we do what we need to do, we don't have to fear. And we don't fear. There is no fear. It's about recognizing the enemy and thwarting him. If we have to disengage from his system, that's an effort to thwart him. But yes, but green language is the literal phonetic meaning attached to a word. And as Galactic Wacko, points out, one of his classic ones, worship. To worship something equals like a warship, like the old battleship of war. Another thing, the mainstream media, it comes through us through television, because they are apt to tell us their vision, which is false. Okay, guys? Right. Money is replacing, it is a proxy, it is hijacking our true connection to the source, the green chakric energy of the heart, the care, and mon-I, one eye. It replaces our need to open that mon-I, the third eye, which we're desperately seeking
I never thought of that.
to. Right. And this union is called, and Jeff, you're right, the old magicians of the earth were called alchemists, and we are still alive today, all right? And we are fighting these sorcerers, all right? And we need your help, okay, ladies and gentlemen? Let's fight these sorcerers together. And magic is the working of energy through the divine will, capital W, capital D. Sorcery is the working of energy through the small w, will, their will be done. The whole of the law shall be my will, or whatever Dr. Baldy said all those years ago, Aleister Crowley. What a darling of the sorcerers he is. I don't even recommend to read his work. It's a putrescent combination of childishness. In fact, Crowley was quoted at the end something about, let the earth cover me up to cover my shame. That's what he wanted on his gravestone. So even he was ashamed of all the horrific things he'd done. But the point is, guys,
he died a penniless drug addict.
Yes, the drug fiend himself, a penniless drug addict who expressed the very faintest hint of remorse at the end, but not even palpable enough to consider. Okay, so just to finish up, and then I'll hush, guys, and you guys are so kind to let me come on the show and talk this way about all this stuff. The union of that third eye opening has to do with the joining of the one triangle, which is the blade, right? The left, the male-dominated sun worshippers, which have taken over which is represented by the completion of the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill. Remember, if you remove that eye and just put a full pyramid there, imagine that, visualize that. That would be their perfect world, guys. What they're trying to do is stamp out that connection with the eye. They even represent it. Remember, they tell us what they're going to do, then they do it, and then they tell us they told us that they were going to do it. It's their spell. They're always working a spell. But imagine that blade, that perfect pyramid finished. That's what their great work is, a dark great work. The positive great work is when we join that left and right, which is combining, which is the symbol of the Solomon seal to the old alchemists, which they've hijacked, Jeff. I've come to realize that not everything with symbols is negative. They've hijacked it all, and that's true. But that's called the alchemical wedding. And, dude, that is big. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a chance to Google alchemical wedding or the chemical wedding of Christian Rosenkreuz, and that is the old European notion of this joining of the feminine, the sacred feminine, with the domineering male aspect inside each of us. Because when we can do that, guys, that is when we can open up that third eye. And Jeff, it appears, has a handle on ways to do that. And I'm interested to hear more about what Jeff does with that. And I'd like to share one last thing. That is sacred to the Rosicrucians, this alchemical wedding of Christian Rosenkreuz or Rosencrantz. Remember, the rose cross, Rosenkreuz, means rosy cross. The rose and cross, the cross represents the sun. The rose represents the beautiful or feminine. They are showing, once again, the unification or the alchemical joining, the alchemical wedding, when people join together the disparate halves. And that is represented by the black and white checkerboard floor. We've talked about this before, but to go back, the black and white checkerboard floor in every floor of masonry represents what we are right now, most of us, which is the dual. We're all schizophrenics, and they know it. And the media massages this in us every day. Oh, hate this, love this, hate this, love. Remember we talked about drugs? Oh, drug addicts are so bad. I hate drug addicts. Oh, but try Prozac. It's wonderful. Remember, they're creating these schizophrenics, or they're fostering it. But our job, guys, is to join, to rise up off the checkerboard floor on that ladder, that Jacob's ladder. Google Jacob's ladder, and it'll come up with a movie, because they're very clever at great, like Stargate. That's a Masonic term, but every time you Google Stargate, what do you come up with? Of course, it's the darn TV show straight from you-know-where. But joining together the left and the right, that is the that is the goal of the alchemist. That is the goal of the person seeking to open that third eye, the calcified pineal gland, the fluoridated pineal gland, the chemtrailed pineal gland, which we're desperate to open. Gentlemen, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And actually, as far as money being a black, just dark magic, black magic kind of, force, just think of just on an everyday level. Think of the things people do for money. People will kill their spouse to get an insurance claim on them. People, it's just absolutely insane the amount of power that, money wields over us. Money is the great controller of this world. I mean, money is the god of the world. So, I mean, that's this show. We're gonna have to do a part 2, because I mean, we've done an hour and a half, and pretty soon. I mean, if you have time, I'd like to do a part 2 just to go further into money's power over us.
Absolutely, Ed. Yes, and there's all kinds of stuff to go over about money. We just, as Jeff said, we just scratched the surface. We're just skimming over the top just to give people a bare bones. But that the energy, that sacred green chakric energy of trying to connect back with the source, they are putting a proxy. They know we're seeking that, so they put a symbol of that in our hand every time, and it takes away from our true connection with the source, of which I and so many other people are desperately seeking.
Yep, and I'm looking at the symbols right now on the dollar bill, and I don't know if you saw, but there were some proposed new forms of the dollar bill that were very interesting, to say the least. We could, on the next show, I'll bring up those pictures and we can analyze those. But I just don't see how someone, so let's just look at the gist of what we say, in the conspiracy movement, in the anti-New World Order movement, of that there's this dark spiritual force known as the Illuminati who's pulling the strings of the world leaders, and they've infiltrated every part of society. And then, you look at the most basic thing in our country is, money. Like I said, that's what our country is runs on money. And you just look at the dollar bill, and just bam, right there, you have the all-seeing. It's just absolutely stunning that we have this on here, and then people are still blind to the fact that that the people that run this world are dark, ecstatic occultists. just so obvious to me.
Totally. It didn't. When you were a kid, didn't that always freak you out about the dollar? When you pulled one out, you started to think about it. Like, what in the heck is this doing on the back of this American dollar? A pyramid with an eye on top of it? Right then and there, you knew. One knows now that occultists are in control of the money system. They have been for millennia. Okay, even before the Templars came up with fractional reserve banking. These creatures have been in control of the money system forever. And
Yep.
Do we have a couple of minutes left, Ed?
We have a caller, actually, if you could just real
yes.
quick. Okay. All right. Area code 716. You should be, you're on the air. Area code 716.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello? Yes. Oh.
Hi.
What's going on? This is Luke.
Hey,
Luke.
It's good to be on finally.
Yeah, do you like the show?
Do I like the show? Yeah, it's great. What was I going to say? Oh, yes.
How you doing, Luke?
Bob, I was wondering if you were familiar with a book called Mimetic Magic.
What is it again?
Mimetic Magic.
Can you spell it?
MEMETIC, I think.
I have yet to hear of this.
Well, I thought you would hear of it because that one show that you had on the stop signs. You're talking about memes and stuff.
Oh, okay, right.
Like thought packets and things like that.
Correct. And once again, this was just a term that I had come across in some of these obscure occultic texts. But the real worker was Jeff. He had a handle on it, and we just kind of crossed over in his academic world that, like you said, cultural packets of information, and in my world it represented a process, like almost like a meme was where the Kabbalistic tree, processes through, and like we were saying in the Stavstein show, by moving through, that was like a meme or a process. But yes, I understand now.
Well, it's interesting that those things work on like a subconscious level that most people aren't aware of. That I guess their subconscious picks up on the signals or the symbols in the sigils themselves, and they have no idea.
That's right.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about it. I mean, like we were saying earlier, this is Jeff again. Hey, Luke, thanks for calling, man.
Hey, what's going on?
The stuff of the cosmos, I mean, we're told it's matter and meaningless and nothing and all these stupid academic institutions. But then, like I said, we've got all this evidence elsewhere that we haven't been able to point out yet tonight on the show that the cosmos is actually made of consciousness. Well, what is the stuff of consciousness? It's symbols, it's words and sounds and colors and feelings and all kinds of these interesting mentational textures and so forth. So that's what is really, that's why these things in the New World Order and then higher up at the non-human level at the Illuminati, why they use all symbols and so forth, because that's how they really manipulate the cosmos and us in it. It's very, very simple. Everything fits together. But if you go to your university, you're just never going to figure this out. So, you have all these packets of energy in the form of symbols and stop signs and so forth. So, yeah.
Yeah, that book you sent me, Luke, I need to send a copy of that to Bob. This is totally stuff that he would just go crazy for. Yeah, I need to look through it more, actually. It is amazing. Yeah, Luke really found a good one with this one.
Excellent.
So wait, can you go into memes again, though? Because, I mean, this is something I'm going to just say it right here. This is a new idea of memes to me. You did touch on that briefly, though, on our other show.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
The idea of memes, it seems it almost parallels with the archetypes. It's kind of like the same idea, just like more modernized, it seems to me.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy. And then it talks about how this book, let me just read the full title, just to give you an idea of what it's about. It says, Mimetic Magic, Manipulation of the Root, Social Matrix, and the Fabric of Reality. So, yeah, this is a dense book, man. I'm just going through it, and, yeah, well, I'll have to read through this and then just do a whole show on this topic alone. But, yeah, just money, and then, whenever you look at the older New World Order researchers and people exposing the Illuminati, how many times, Bob, does it always go back to money? It's just one way or the other. It always comes back, to them just, they have, what's that quote? I don't care. I'm just paraphrasing, but I don't care who controls the laws of the nation. If you give me control of its money supply, I could care less who controls the law.
That's right.
So now there's no more coincidences with all these words going on. So there is definitely something huge behind that.
That's right, Jeff, and that hits on our good friend Galactic Wacko loves what they call green language.
Yeah.
And this is the language of I like to call them my witches. Bob is I'm in a fight against witches. Okay, guys, I know, and Jeff knows, and Ed knows, there are dark sorcerers actively thwarting us. But as Jeff stated, if we do what we need to do, we don't have to fear. And we don't fear. There is no fear.
I've done whole 90-minute shows over and over on Antimatter Radio about this, because I'm just skimming over a point that we've empirically backed up to an incredible degree. But the point is, though, then, if consciousness is the stuff of nature, then the currency there is the thing that's stolen consciousness. It's and it itself goes into it. So it is amazing how this whole thing is fitting together. I know I'm skimming over this really, really fast here, but there's a lot of ways to think about that's probably a hint. If all the words that could be used, currency, just is a variation of the word current. I mean, I think a lot of the listeners, if it's a piece of nature, it is a piece of consciousness as well. The currency is. So it's like the conscious entity that steals our consciousness. So in that sense, it's a piece of energy that it has the possibility of steering it. We're a current that flows